Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma.
Mr. Amsterdam, thank you for your time and thank you for answering our questions. Did you have any thoughts or hope, Mr. Amsterdam, that Bachiashvili could win this case in Georgia against Bidzina Ivanishvili?
No, there was never hope. That doesn't mean you don't put the facts before the court, and we have excellent counsel in Georgia to assist. But of course, this was a staged show trial. We are familiar, those of us who know the Soviet system, we're familiar with what a show trial looks like. This is unique because unlike Stalin's show trials, this show trial was for the financial benefit of Mr. Ivanishvili. So it's one of the world's first kleptocratic show trials. So we made a little history where Mr. Ivanishvili was trying to steal money from my client, and he used the courts to try to steal this money. So, if you will, this was a judicial extortion carried out by a corrupt judge who is already sanctioned in Estonia, part of a judicial system where the leadership is already sanctioned by the United States. It is a court system that is not only financially corrupt, but morally corrupt. And no decision of any Georgian court should be recognized anywhere. It is shameful what's been going on in their system. Just yesterday, another important, honest businessman has been put into jail. What's going on in Georgia with the demonstrators put into jail, with the election stolen, it is a cascade of human rights violations.
What are next steps, Mr. Amsterdam? What do you plan to do in this case, in Bachiashvili's case next?
Well, watch us. We are going to do what we can for the sanctioning of those who were involved in this case. We will do what we can in terms of the corrupt judges. We will do what we can in terms of Mr. Ivanishvili. But watch us. We're not going to telegraph all of our activities. Obviously, we'll appeal. Obviously, we'll go to Strasbourg. But there's more. This crook, Mr. Ivanishvili, will not get away with this. It is contemptuous. And then to order an 11-year sentence. And this was the Ivanishvili order. This had nothing to do with the judge. Reflects a cruelty of the man on top of his desire to bend the courts and the prosecutors and the police to his will. It is a shameful exhibit of his hubris and paranoia.
What are Bachiashvili's chances at the Strasbourg court?
Listen, before a rule of law court, I believe we have excellent chances of success. But we haven't been in front of a rule of law court. We haven't been in front of a court that respects human rights. So we'll wait and see till we get that opportunity.
Was it the only way for Bachiashvili to escape the country at this point?
Well, I'm not going to comment other than to say thank God. An 11-year sentence where the facts and the documents in front of the judge completely contradicted the narrative of perjured testimony. It is, I don't know how that judge can sleep at night.
Was this escape a surprise for you?
Again, I won't make any comments concerning those activities.
Okay, then I will ask slightly in a different way. Does this escape affect Ivanishvili's image of a strong man that is bending the system and that is solely controlling the whole system in Georgia?
Of course. I mean, you know, Ivanishvili looks like the incompetent autocratic, kleptocratic ruler that he is. Of course it does.
Prosecutor's office has already applied to Interpol to search for Giorgi Bachiashvili with a red circular. Do you have any updates on that? What will be the strategy in this regard?
Well, this is not capable of Interpol because I do this type of work for a living, and there are conditions with Interpol. They will not go after political persecutions. They will not assist judicial systems that are corrupt. I have no concerns about Interpol.
Did you think that the Tqwari HPP case would resurface in this context, and judiciary would use this case against Bachiashvili?
Look, this is all according to a script of Ivanishvili. There's no way of predicting it. It has nothing to do with rule of law. It has nothing to do with due process. So all of us just have to react to the behavior of an irrational man who suffers clearly from paranoid delusions.
Does that make your job more difficult, Mr. Amsterdam?
Of course, because it's, when you're dealing with somebody who's not necessarily operating according to any form of rules or logic, it becomes very difficult to predict.
Zaza Shatirishvili, he is the Ivanishvili's philosopher. He attacked you personally, stating that you are an agent of the Global War Party and Deep State, and that with Bachiashvili's case, you showed how agents control the Deep State and then influence people within the country and then try to overthrow the governments. Do you feel that almighty, Mr. Amsterdam?
It's funny. I am banned from 7 countries, and for doing my job, and certainly I won't rush to go to Georgia anytime soon. People need to understand what a deep state is. I worked for a number of countries where there are deep states. I am not a believer in a deep state. I'm being accused of that. I represent the Orthodox Church in Ukraine, where I am sanctioned both by Russia and attacked by many in the United States for defending the Orthodox Church.
So these allegations are not new to you. You just
no. And when you are engaging in cases like my defense of Kharkovsky or defending children of Christ in Ukraine who are being persecuted by their own government, you get used to these kind of random, stupid shots.
But do you think Ivanishvili also believes in this?
Listen, I read his April statement very carefully. They are the rantings of a madman. Very hard to give it any credibility at all in terms of politics. And I think it's a tragedy that in this case, he just absolutely looked after his own personal interest. He's already starting a civil lawsuit. He is an angry man who's out to steal everybody's money. And I think if I was living in Georgia, I would make sure my wallet was sealed because there's no limits to his greed.
Bachiashvili wanted to participate in the court hearing online and deliver his final statement, but the judge denied the lawyer's motion. Was it logical why this motion was denied?
It's absolutely contrary to Article 6 of the European Convention of Human Rights, and that will be alone a reason for this entire judgment to be thrown out. It was the judge didn't bother to look at the law, obviously.
Do you know what Bachiashvili wanted to emphasize during his final statement?
Yes, his innocence, the fact that the documentation in no way backed up the case of the prosecution, the fact that there was no interest in bringing this case until 8 years after the facts. I can go on and on in terms of the merits of Bachiashvili's arguments. The fact that those who testified against him had no credibility and all sorts of perverse motives for what they said. The fact that the bank was repaid. The fact that exactly as he said, he took out a loan, he was at risk, he put up his own money. It's absolutely insane that any judge, even a corrupt judge, could make a finding in these circumstances. And it is my prayer for Georgia that rule of law and democracy is restored, so political cases like this don't cross anyone's desks, and that young people, brilliant people like Bachiashvili don't have to flee the country, but they're welcome to the country so that you can build a better and stronger Georgia.
I had an interview with Giorgi Bachiashvili. He believed that some new charges might come against him in future.
Yes.
He named co-investment fund and international standards that didn't allow Ivanishvili to move his assets without certain procedures. Are there some cases, do you think this case could also be used against Bachiashvili at some point, and in what way?
Look, the vengeful determination of Ivanishvili, knows no bounds. And I'm not going to engage in speculation about what other illegal activities Mr. Ivanishvili may engage in. He is clearly not bounded by the law. He's clearly not bounded by morality. He's clearly not bounded by ethics of any sort. It is incapable. We are all incapable of dealing with this type of thing, and he is, completely not only unpredictable, but really reading his statements, they lack an internal logic. Whatever you want to say about Vladimir Vladimirovich, at least when I read his statements, this is also a man who's had me expelled from his country, but at least with Mr. Putin, there's an internal logic to what he says. With Mr. Ivanishvili, there's no logic. And in the Bachiashvili case, there's just hubris and anger and vengeance and not even an attempt to present a legal case.
Do you think you might be...
Listen, I'm not rushing to spend my tourist dollars. I'm not rushing to spend my tourist dollars in Tbilisi right now. Although I love Georgia. I have many friends in Georgia. I'm not rushing to come back.
As we found out, Bachiashvili used to record some of the conversations with Ivanishvili on his phone. Does he have some new recordings that might be interesting? For example, in light of international sanctions, for example, because you mentioned that you would do everything, including working with international actors to further sanction Ivanishvili and judges.
To the extent that the Georgians are coming after him, we will come after Ivanishvili. I think it's a matter where I'm not going to make any comments about what my client has or doesn't have. I think it is a situation where, quite frankly, watch what we do, not watch what we say. I am not a believer in threats. I believe in action, and I think Ivanishvili has shown himself as I said, to be completely reprehensible, to understand how much Bachiashvili did for Georgia, and even while he was with Ivanishvili, in terms of assisting him when it came to this crime that was committed against Ivanishvili, which is, of course, the big banking case, to then have Ivanishvili exact this attack on Giorgi is just incomprehensible.
Is Bachiashvili currently seeking for a political shelter, or
again? I would not comment. That is not for me to say.
Okay, and my last question. Thank you for your time again. What does the silence of the general, like the overall business community, tell you about this case?
That they're scared, and I would not be asking anyone in Georgia for any assistance, because I recognize that the rule of law does not exist, and that people have to look after themselves. And I'm sure Giorgi shares my view that people should just look after themselves. And I pray for the people of Georgia during this dark, terrible time in Georgian history.
Thank you so much, Mr. Amsterdam, for your answers. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma.